Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Excited to be with you. As always, we're going to be talking today about what's going on between India and Pakistan. To those who understand the history of the conflicts between those two neighbors, this shouldn't come as a surprise or a shocking to you. The key question we're going to have to ask is, will this escalate to a nuclear level? This is where the big concern is. And of course, you always have to remember there are outside players who will have some sort of the benefit seeing the tensions between those two neighbors. So this is what I'm going to provide you today, rather, with my analysis about. But before I'll do this, let me say hi to our wonderful community quickly here. To all of you, a truth seeker, good to see you. Amanda, good to see you. Timeline Dunkley, as always. Vlad Ivanvisky, I hope I pronounced it correctly. Biswatik, I'm sorry, Biswastix, good to see you as always. Christian, good to see you. Lee Jumpy, good to see you. Li Yang, good to see you as always. Hiri Local, I haven't seen you for a long time, friend. Where have you been, man? Hope all is well. Matt Becky, as always, truth seeker here. Vera, good to see you. Tom Saya, as always. All right, guys, let's get into our conversation here because there's a lot to cover. So in this episode here today, I'm gonna be doing a little bit of geography and a history. You have to understand the history of how things evolved regarding especially the Kashmir region, and there are a lot of emotions into all this, so I'm not going to get into that. What I'm going to provide you is the facts, and of course you reach your own conclusions. So before I do this, I have two headlines I need to share with you that you need to be aware of. First one has to do with the trip of the interim president Giuliani. Remind me, was he a terrorist at some point? So anyway, he is in Paris. Yeah, go figure, right? So Giuliani in Paris. And this begs the question, what kind of deal France is going to be cutting with Giuliani? So, and it was Giuliani himself who said in Paris during a press conference that he would like to have an indirect negotiations with Israel to calm the situation. Come on, man. Israel is bombing Damascus. What could he do? Squat, nothing, because we are the one who put him in. And when we say we, that means with the approval also of the Israelis. So this is why, despite what you hear, it was by design where he came to power, because we put him into that. So, and anyway, this came during a joint press conference between Giuliani and France President Emmanuel Macron, who welcomed him into Paris. All right, second one has to do with Denmark, and I'm going to share a picture of the foreign minister, Lars Rasmussen. This is a picture. That's his picture from 2018, 2017, an old one. I looked into it and get that one. In any event, Denmark summons now U.S. ambassador over Greenland because of a spying report. What's new there? So the Danish shouldn't be surprised at that. So the Danish foreign minister, Lars Rasmussen, said yesterday that he will summon the acting U.S. ambassador to Denmark after Wall Street Journal reported that the Trump administration has ordered U.S. intelligence agencies to intensify spying on Greenland. And Rasmussen told reporters during an informal meeting of the EU foreign ministers, which took place on Wednesday, by the way, yesterday in Warsaw, that he was concerned about the report, saying, and I quote, "It worries me a lot because we don't spy on friends." End of quote. Yeah, good luck with that. If you only know what we did to Angela Merkel as far as listening to her cell phone and so forth. So anyway, this is what I wanted to share with you. So let's get into our conversation today regarding what took place or what's taking place between India and Pakistan. So it's very concerning. Nobody should underestimate the possibility that things could get out of hand. Of course, the Pakistani Prime Minister Shiraz is saying, well, I'm sorry, the defense minister, who said that we will welcome international intervention for peace. That is, yeah. But you need to understand, I just cut my finger with a knife yesterday. So what you need to understand is that Pakistan is as corrupted as it can get. During my days in Washington, we used to deal with them. And when I say them, I am referring to the ISI, because that's the one that controls the decisions inside Pakistan. And I'll get into all this as I move forward. Well, the question now is that the idea of this, not the idea, but rather the concern regarding the threat of a nuclear war, it's looming large now. Yeah. Because you never underestimate, because there could be some elements will want to see that outcome. So because tensions are continuing to escalate, however, there are reports suggesting that things have calmed down after each party retaliated. So, but you have to put this within the context of the long history of conflict and rivalry between the two nuclear armed neighbors. So, and again, all of them centered on one key aspect, and this one has to do with the region of Kashmir. And I have some pictures here, which, by the way, this particular map here, it's kind of very, very interesting because I have different maps I'm going to be sharing with you. So, and I'm going to get into the detail of the geography as I move forward. So now the question becomes, what are the chances of a nuclear war breaking out between India and Pakistan? I hope it never gets to that, because that would be very, very concerning. And this is where we're going to be detailing some aspects as to, of course, with the decision of the Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, which announced on Tuesday that cutting off the water to Pakistan. He has no right of doing that, because that water is under treaty that both countries have signed. Yes, there's tensions, but you don't cut off water. That just doesn't make sense, because we have to sort of be aware of what's going on. So I'm going to play a clip for you first, then I'll move into the geography and history. But I need you to listen to this one here, guys. And I'll do the translation for you guys, because it's in Arabic, not in Urdu. So take a listen here, guys.
شكرا سلمى. سنطلع على صورة أقرب لكامل النزاع وما يجري هنا في هذه المنطقة. بداية
Thank you very much, Salma. We will give full details as to what's really taking place
أعرف
here.
مشاهدينا هذه المنطقة التي ترونها هنا، هذه باكستان، هذه الهند، هذه المنطقة التي
The region you are looking at, the picture you are looking at right now, this is Pakistan, this is India, and this is the region where
تشاهدونها هنا بهذا اللون الغامق هو ما تسيطر عليه الهند من
with the dark color here. This is what the ones that is controlled or under the control of India.
كشمير نحو 55%.
This is Kashmir, and it's about 55%, this dark colored region that is under the control of India.
هذه المنطقة باللون الأفتح هو نحو 30% من كشمير تسيطر عليها.
The ones that is in lighter color, which is about 35, that is controlled under Pakistan.
باكستان. والمنطقة باللون الأحمر هنا هي منطقة تسيطر عليها الصين.
And the one in a red color here on the corner, that is under the control of China. So yes, this region is divided between three countries: China, India, and Pakistan.
نحو 15%.
And China controls about 15%. So you got 35, 55, and 15.
من إقليم كشمير. إذن هنا يتركز الصراع عادة ما جرى في هذا.
This is usually where the conflict has always been concentrated. So
اليوم بدأ بقصف هندي منذ
What it started with, and this is by the way from the day before, what it started with the artillery shelling or the missile launching of the Indian forces.
أمس على هذه المناطق سنقترب أكثر. نحن الآن هنا، هذا إقليم كشمير، و
The one here you see is Kashmir, and this is the Pakistani territory here.
القصف استهدف عدة مناطق، لا سيما واحدة من أهم المناطق.
So the attacks of the Indian on the Pakistanis focuses on different regions. However, there was one particular location.
التي استهدفها القصف هي في إقليم البنجاب.
It was particular one is in Punjab region.
استهدفت الهند بهوالبور، هذه المنطقة.
Bahawalpur, that's the location of where the attack makes you wonder. Why will India go all the way to attack this location?
وقالت باكستان إن الهند استهدفت مسجدين في.
And the Pakistani have announced that the Indian have attacked a mosque. Now, there is one thing I need to share with you before I move on here. You have to understand one thing now, that there will be a war of information. Who controls the narrative? This is nothing new. It has always been, anytime there are tensions between India and Pakistan, the information becomes the key. I mean, you look at it, all countries do that. So, but this is something you need to be aware of. And let me continue. And as a matter of fact, I do have, I think I have a picture of the mosque that was attacked, but that was another location. Hold on a second here, guys. Yeah, it's right here. This is the mosque, but I believe this is in a different location. I think it's in Lahore. That's what the text about. Anyway, let's continue our listening here.
في هذه المنطقة طبعا مجموع الخسائر لهذا القصف الهندي على عدة مناطق، طبعا شملت كوتلي وشملت.
All you see, the point he's pointing out, those in red, those are the locations that India attacked, and those are inside Pakistan. Here is Lahore right here at the bottom. He's not pointing at it, but
مظفر أباد أيضا قالت الهند إنها 9 مواقع، قالت باكستان.
So India said it was 9 locations. Pakistan is saying otherwise.
إنها 6 مواقع.
Pakistan is saying only 6 locations have been attacked.
مجموع الضحايا كان نحو 26.
The civilian casualties were about 26.
مدنيا ونحو 43 جريحا.
And 43 injured. I know that I read in one report that it was a 3-year-old female kid. She was killed.
لكن طبعا أيضا قالت الهند في إعلانها لهذا القصف أنها ترد على هجمات إرهابية.
Of course, India is saying this is in retaliation to a terrorist attack on the tourists.
وقالت إنها تفادت استهداف المواقع العسكرية.
And India added that we were trying to avoid targeting civilians.
لكن نظرة أقرب أيضا إلى كشمير لنرى نطلع على الرد الباكستاني.
Let's look at closer here into the Kashmir with the response of the Pakistanis.
إذن بعد أن استهدفت الهند كما ذكرنا مناطق مثل مظفر أباد هنا و
like we said, after India attacked locations like Muzaffarabad,
أيضا كوتلي في
another region called or a city Kotli,
إقليم في مناطق من الإقليم كشمير التي تسيطر عليها.
And those, by the way, locations within under the control of the Pakistanis sovereignty as far as Kashmir.
باكستان ردت إسلام آباد فورا بقصف على مواقع في كشمير الهندي.
Of course, Pakistan responded by targeting locations inside the territory under the control of India in Kashmir.
هنا نتحدث عن بونش كما تلاحظون في هذه المنطقة.
For example, there is this location here called Bunch, which is under the Indian control in Kashmir.
منطقة نتحدث أيضا عن راجوري.
Another location is Rajouri, which is under the control of India.
هي مواقع عسكرية وقالت إنها
And those locations, by the way, are military locations.
دمرت كتيبة للمشاة هنا في هذه المواقع.
And it says that it has destroyed a katiba, platoon, I believe.
أيضا التصعيد العسكري شمل أمور أكثر، حيث تتحدث القوات الباكستانية عن إسقاط 5 طائرات.
There's also additional information from the Pakistanis saying that they have downed 5 fighter jets, which, by the way, I read elsewhere that it did confirm that indeed 5 Indian fighter jets were downed.
مقاتلة هندية وطائرة أيضا مسيرة طبعا.
It was also, I think, a drone.
مصدر أمني هندي كان قد تحدث أن 3 طائرات.
However, on the Indian confirmation regarding this, they said only 3. And this is again my point, guys. You're gonna be dealing with the information campaign now. This said India said something, Pakistan will say something else.
مقاتلة هندية قد سقطت بالفعل لأسباب مجهولة.
However, the Indian are saying yes, indeed, the plane, the fighter jet fell down, but for some other technical or other reasons.
مصدر. لكن في نفس الوقت ما يزال الاشتباك قائما بين الطرفين. لا.
And by the way, the exchange of fire still going on. As a matter of fact, last night I got a word from inside Pakistan that just last night the Indian fired something else again.
سيما هنا من في حدود إقليم كشمير في هذه المناطق الاشتباكات هنا تتكرر حتى في.
And this is where on the Kashmir border area region there, that's where the tensions or the exchange of fires.
في هذه اللحظات هناك أيضا حظر. باكستان أعلنت أنها أوقفت العمل في هذه المطارات في مطار.
Of course, Pakistan have announced that now the work at the airport has stopped completely, come to a complete halt.
مطار سيالكوت وفي مطار لاهور أيضا كذلك أوقف.
The airports at Lahore and Sikalta.
الهند العمل في عدة مطارات في
The same thing India is
شمال
doing.
البلاد بناء على كل هذه التطورات العسكرية التي تجري هنا في إقليم كشمير المتنازع عليه.
And this based on the development that's taking place in this contested region of Kashmir
بين البلدين.
between the two countries. Okay, I'm going to stop right here because that's all I have to do with this one here. Then we'll move on into our own conversation regarding where this is going. So, and like I said, India is going to be saying one thing, Pakistan is going to be saying some other things. And again, for us just to get the information, then we reach our own conclusion and we go from there. So, like I said, I'm going to do geography for you. First of all, let me share a map with you. And this is a part of where Kashmir is. And as a matter of fact, I don't need to share this because it's the same picture I have right here. So, but you need to understand Kashmir. Now, Kashmir is a geographical region that forms the northernmost part of the Indian subcontinent. So, okay, it is bordered by the Tibet region in the east, Uyghur region of Xinjiang in the northeast, Pakistan in the west, Afghanistan in the northwest, and the Indian states of Punjab and Himachal Pradesh in the south. So you can see why it is very, very contentious location that is. So the region of Kashmir has been in dispute between India and Pakistan since they gained independence. Does anybody know what year both countries gained their independence? It was in the same year. Let me see in the chat box if you guys can type in that in. What year that was? Of course, the British made a mess out of all that. The same thing they did in West Asia or Middle East. Let me see what year since the independence. Multitam, 1947. A.F. Corleone, 47. Shane Graves, 47. Moonlight, 47. Taiwan Steel, 47. Yan Su. Alice Talokin, you meant 47. So that is correct. It was 1947. So the northern and western part of Kashmir, when you look at the map, I'm going to put it back up here. When you look at the northern part and the western parts of Kashmir that are currently administered by Pakistan are referred to, they are referring to it for a specific reason, a historical one that is. It's known as Azad Kashmir. Okay, and Gilad Baltistan. That's how it is on the map. That is the reason why I wanted to show this map, because it's named this way right here in green, as you see it, Baltistan. So, and the southern and southeastern part are administered by the India, which is under the Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. So, of course, the eastern part of the region is under the control of China, and that's known as the Trans-Karakoram Tract and the Aske Chin. So that is the important things about understanding this one here. So now let me move into the history here, then I'll move into my own analysis here. So one thing you need to understand about the history of, I have some pictures here I need to that I looked at into the archives and came up with some pictures. If I can get it now, I don't know what it is. Jammu. Okay, let me pull it up for you guys. Sorry for this, because I thought I uploaded it, but I didn't. It's right here. Why is this important? Because you have to go back in understanding the Kashmir dispute. You have to go back into history. And I'll take you back to 1846. Why 1846? Why is this important? Because that was the year when Kashmir was sold to a Hindu warlord. This is what the British did. The British colonial rulers of India at that time sold the territory, that including its population, which, by the way, they were majority at that time Muslims. So, and here is the thing. The sale deed by which the sale was conducted, it was called the Treaty of Amritsar. So, and of course, when the British provided that treaty or the document in return for sums of money, and to the Hindu warlord who had no roots there. Now, the Hindu warlord has no. So this warlord who bought himself into royalty, including its populace, and styled himself to be known later on in history as the Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir. The Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir. So one thing was known about this particular individual was the act of brutality that existed during his regime, his tenure, have left bitter memories, and some of which persist till present day. This is why you see in what India is doing to the minority Muslims in Kashmir. So you have to understand. And again, we're not pointing fingers here. We're just providing the facts. So why the brutality? Because back then, several mosques were closed and occupied by his forces. And that's exactly during this era when the slaughtering of cow was declared a crime punishable by death, still till today in India. Of course, it's their culture. They can do whatever they want. Who are we to judge? We have no place in judging, but we just provide the facts as they are. So now fast forward to 1925, between 1925 and 1947. Why is this important? Because this is where the discrimination against the Muslims majority became, as evident as it can be. Maharaja Hari Singh continued his policy of discrimination against the 94% Muslim majority. This is what you need to understand about the region of Kashmir. That's why India is acting the way it acts regarding the targeting of Muslims in that part. So I thought I had the map here. I think I deleted it. Let me see if I can get it back. No, I don't know. It's gone. Anyway, let's move on. And that is part of where that problem is. So then you move into 1931. That's when Kashmiris themselves organized their first protest. So the people in Kashmir made their first organized protest against Maharaja Hari Singh's cruelty. So then you move into 1940. Well, 1940, that's when that resolution sort of passed. And which resolution are we talking about? The Pakistani resolution that was passed exactly on March 23rd, 1940. So, and this by which Pakistani resolution is part in Iqbal Park in Lahore. And that's the purpose of it, was demanding the establishment of an independent state in the area in which the Muslims are majority. This is what I'm saying. Maybe to solve this issue, let people in Kashmir decide who they want to be part of. Yeah, why not? And by the way, even that 15% that is under China, include that one and do a referendum and let people decide. I think it's fair. Now, if they decided to be with India, then the case is closed. If they decided to be with Pakistan, then the case is closed. If they wanted to be with China, then the case is closed. So that's just my opinion. Now, you move into 1946. Why is this important? Because that's when Azad Kashmir came into being, meaning it became independent. So the Muslim Conference adopted the Azad Kashmir resolution in 1946, calling for the end of autocratic governments and claimed the right of people to elect their own constituent assembly. And of course, the other one was the Quit Kashmir campaign, took also place in 1946. And it came in 1947. That's when British accepted Pakistan's plan. The British did not accept the Indian plan. It was the Pakistani plan, which the British government announced that it accepted the demand of the Muslims for establishing or the establishment of an independent state of Pakistan in an area where Muslims are in majority. And that includes, by the way, Kashmir also was part. All the political parties, including the Muslim League, which represented Muslims, and the Congress represented the Hindu, accepted the plan. And of course, 1947, that's when the state of Pakistan came into being as far as independence. And you know the history after this. It's a long one. I'm going to provide you the link here, guys, should you decide to read this later on, because I got a lot to cover and I have to move on with other aspects. So it is a link in the description for you. So now there is another, and of course, what's important for you to understand is the 1947-1948, which is the first war between India and Pakistan over Kashmir. So India and Pakistan were at war over Kashmir from 1947 to 1948. And an early UN Security Council resolution contained admonition for both countries demanding an immediate ceasefire, which will be followed by UN directed sort of a ceasefire there. So. And 1948, the resolution was confirmed by the UN Security Council. And of course, in 1964, this is where the problem started, in my opinion. Why is this? Because in 1964, where India failed to keep her promise. So what happened? India renegated from her pledge, and the Indian representative told the Security Council, and I quote, because I had to look for the quote here, "I wish to make it clear on behalf of my government that in no circumstances we can agree to the holding of a plebiscite in Kashmir," end of quote. And that's what the defense minister, Krishnan Menon, gave the reasons. Kashmir will vote to join Pakistan, and no Indian government responsible for agreeing to this. So that's part of where the problem started. And of course, following that, 1965, India claimed Kashmir. So that begs the question, is India legally controlling Kashmir? What do you guys think? Yes or no? Based on what I shared with you so far. Is India, again, I repeat the question, is India illegally controlling Kashmir? Yes or no? And of course, 1966, that's when the Tashkent is the capital of Uzbekistan, Tashkent agreement was signed. And this one, it was under the auspices of the Soviet Union at that time. Soviet Union arranged talks between Pakistan and India. And that's where the Tashkent agreement was signed. And that mediation, it was conducted at that time by none other than Alexei Kursnik, or Kuzkin. So the agreement basically reaffirming that the dispute should be settled by peaceful means, and the armies are to be withdrawn to their original possessions. Well, that's beg another question. What was the original possessions? The demarcation wasn't as clear as it could. The British left a mess. So, and that's when, again, 1971, this is where the banning over flight of Pakistani planes by India. In other words, India banned the flight of Pakistani planes. So the Indian intelligence arranges a plane hijacking of an Indian plane to Pakistan from Kashmir. And on that pretext, bans over flight of Pakistani planes to disrupt communication between the two parts of Pakistan. And that begs us the question. Was this a setup, what's going on right now, set up by the Modi administration? It's just a question to ask. Because when Modi made the decision to cut off water, violating the treaty, that makes me just entertain that question. And again, I'm not saying it is. So, and once again, 1971 marks what? What happened in 1971? That's when Indian army attacked East Pakistan. So, and of course, something major happened in 1971. Can anybody tell me what was it? And I'll give you a hint. Out of all this, another country was born in 1971. Does anybody know which one? And once again, guys, I want you to be part of the conversation. Let me see. I think I saw it. Muzir, you got it. Multitam, Bangladesh. Multitam, where is Muzir? I saw Muzir right there. Yeah, thank you, Muzir. Muiz. Bangladesh, that is correct. So it was Bangladesh that was established. This is why you need to understand one key aspect as to why India still has an influence still today on three countries in that region. We're talking about Nepal, we're talking about Bangladesh, and we're talking about Bhutan. So India should not be interfering with those countries. And I know what's going on because I've been in Kathmandu and I talk to people there. When I say people, I'm referring to those inside the government, because I was in Washington, I was traveling on behalf of the government. It's not a tourism. So I talk to the people who are in the know. And it's like, yeah, we have to free ourselves from the shackles of India. But in any event, Bangladesh was established in 1971. And of course, a new Kashmiri resistance began. And that was 1987. So, and the rest is history till we get into the late 90s. And that's when the nuclear testing of India, followed by the one of Pakistan. So the history is quite a long one, but it's worth your time if you ever get a chance to read it. So, like I said, Kashmir history, you have to go all the way back to the 3rd century. That's how far back. And do you guys know how many empires and dynasties have existed? So the rise and the fall of so many. And I'll give you just a quick example. You have the sultans. They were ruling from 1346 all the way to 1580. Then you have the Mughals, 1580 all the way to 750. Then you have the Afghans from 1747 all the way to 1819. Then you have the Sikhs from 1820 all the way to 1846. Then you have the Dogra from 1846 all the way to 1947. And of course, what's after that was all this was has to do with the British also presence in that. So, and of course, what you need to understand also about Kashmir is that also witnessed some sort of and has been the epicenter for growth and emergence of the largest world religions. That includes Buddhism and Christianity. Islam came later on, of course. And that's why Kashmir is geographically and strategically very, very important and attractive. So, and I believe, give them the referendum, let them decide who they wanted to be associated with. India will not let it be, but India will have to be forced into allowing a referendum. That's the way I see it. So, and that's why you have now the first, you have the territories, because here's the thing, what you need to understand also is that Kashmir, proximity to Russia. So all this makes it very, very important. You don't want a nuclear war there. So it's very, very important to understand these dynamics, because without it, it's just not gonna make sense to us. So what else? Yeah. So understanding this, this is where, if you understand the Azad Kashmir to the west and the Gilgit-Baltistan to the north, then actually scan the whole regions becoming, and despite being surrounded by the Himalayas, by the way, and being renowned for its natural beauty, which it does. I got some pictures for you guys just to see certain locations. It just makes you wonder as to what will become of Kashmir moving forward. So, by the way, this is like a picture of the snow leopard. So, the Kashmiri. This is again an old temple. Yeah, I just want you to be aware of all this one here. So, liking this video so far? Don't just be a watcher. Go ahead and hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And don't forget to tap the bell so you will not miss any of my videos or live streams. This way, you will be supporting a channel that stands for the truth and objective reporting. The choice is yours. Thanks for your support. Now, let's get into some analysis here in understanding really how this all of a sudden appears. As I said before, I had a chance to deal with when I was in DC, we're dealing with the ISI, the Pakistani side. Of course, we're dealing with the Indians as well. We play both sides. That's nothing new here. So what I want you to understand, something about the events of the April 22nd, the so-called terrorist attack in Pahalgam, which sits on the Indian control region of Kashmir, that left 22, I believe, 22, 24 tourists dead. So why is this important? Because it comes right after the visit of none other than J.D. Vance to the region. Let me see if I can get his. I thought I had a picture of J.D. No, I didn't. Anyway, I don't have a picture. I thought, no, I do. J.D. Vance, yeah. So he went to India, right? Because we have to not shy away from saying the uncomfortable, the inconvenient truth that right after his visit, all of a sudden tensions flared up. that begs the question, did we have to do anything with it? And when I say we, I am referring also to the coordination with the British, the intelligence service. It's because we have a history of events that we have been involved in. As a matter of fact, the defense minister of Pakistan, he stated publicly in his interview that we have been doing the dirty work for the Americans for the last 3 decades. I was aware when Pervez Musharraf took over what we used to do behind closed doors with the ISI at that time. And this one now, you start to ask these questions that requires an answer for us to understand. And the logical question you have to ask is, was this like a sort of a flag up by the Indians, or was it by Modi in this case, because that's how he maintained his control, or was it like this is coordinated by the intelligence services? And if it is the case, what is the objective? What will it be? So, why will it be? Because there are two things, two main events that comes to, two main outcomes that come to mind right away. Who is the third country involved in Kashmir? It's China, right? Why would you want to create tensions near China's border? That would be one thing to consider. Second thing is, India is part of BRICS. You know where BRICS is headed, right? You know who's in BRICS, who's leading the BRICS is China because of its economy. Then you know what's going to happen if you create tensions to undermine both directions. One is creating tensions near China's border, and second, because we don't worry about Pakistan. There's no worry about. We maintain Pakistan, we keep Pakistan down by design. All the money that we've been giving the Pakistan. I was aware of a $10 billion was transferred to the Pakistanis back in early 2000s, right after 9/11, and that was the money never ended up staying in Pakistan. This is why majority, not all, I shall not generalize, majority were corrupted prime ministers of Pakistan with their assets in England. That's by design, including the current one, which, by the way, I'll get into that as I move forward. And this is why you have to understand when you have, for example, a defense minister, Asif, and I think I have a picture of him. Yeah, right here. This is Pakistani defense minister. So when you have the defense minister himself just going about, of course, like I said, it's an information war. He's going to have to say that, the Indian stages this false flag. Yeah, of course. The ISI might not say a word. ISI usually don't make comments on this, but ISI will work behind the scenes, Because remember, who trained the Mujahideen back then? That's something you have to keep in mind. And who funded them, by the way? Who funded the Mujahideen? Does anybody know, by the way? Let me see in the chat box if you know which country that funded the Mujahideen during the Soviet presence in Afghanistan. Let me see in the chat box. Remember, not training, funding. No, not the 3-letter agency. No, not Russia. Mayo, you got it. It was Saudi Arabia. David King, you got it. YT, you got it. Carl Leon, you got it. Saudis. TT, you got it. Saudis. Yeah. Amanda, you got it. It was the Saudis. Yeah. It was under, at that time, a coordinated effort between, at that time, the late King Fahd, and Reagan. That was the decision was made. We will provide the training, but the Saudis will provide the funding. And the training, even though we were involved, it went through a third party also by the ISI. This is why the Taliban were under the control of the ISI. And now they're having problems inside Pakistan. Yeah, it's because sorry guys. It's because the idea of, I gotta put some band-aid here on. Sorry. So that was the whole idea. You need to understand those dynamics, because otherwise it won't make sense to you. So when the defense minister is saying, "Oh, that's false flag," or no, we have to take a step back, because later on he came and stated that, and I quote here because I got it through his interview, said, and I quote, "Doing the dirty work for the United States and the West, including Britain." And that's why makes you just wonder about what happened in Kashmir. Was it orchestrated by the two agencies, one in the US and the other one in Britain? And that's something you just have to acknowledge. So, of course, Pakistan ended up holding the end of the stick because they suffered mainly. But again, because the corruption runs rampant in Pakistan. So, I mean, look what we did to Imran Khan, because he said no to the US drone base on Pakistani soil. I had a chance to read in Arabic language. An analysis actually was done 2 days ago by Usaid Siddiqui. So, and sort of he got some really spot on, because you have to understand about who's going to be now shaping the narrative after India strikes inside Pakistan. And you know what the casualty is going to be? And I couldn't agree more with him about this. The casualty is going to be the truth, because no entity will want you to know the truth. Unlike everything else in life, some of us, not all, I shall not generalize, some of us are not willing to face the truth. Because if you face the truth, it will force you to start reconsidering your options, your assumptions, your assessments. And that is uncomfortable for some of us. The same concept applies when it comes down to political decisions. So, and this is why you are already seeing the competing news and information briefings and so forth, diversions in claims, conflicting narrative and misleading. That's like what our Donald Trump said yesterday or the day before, and I post this for the community, that, oh, the Houthis were bagging us. No. The head of the Houthi just confirmed, we never backed the Americans and we are not stopping. That is my point, guys. That's what I need you to understand. But this doesn't allow us to just side away from the key question. And the key question is, are we on the verge of a potential nuclear exchange between the two nuclear armed powers or nuclear neighbors? So, because that's very concerning. So if the Pakistanis were able to down 5 Indian fighter jets, of course the Indians are going to respond. India will have no options but to respond. But if they respond, and they already did, Pakistan will also have no other option but to respond. And this is why you have to understand where this is heading. So, of course, India said, well, our forces targeted the terrorist infrastructure. I put this in quote. Which infrastructure are we talking about? So, and you have also the defense minister of India, and I got a picture of him because he made one statement that really made me. His name is Rajnath Singh. Make me just shake my head. His statement was that we will make India a developed country by 2047. I think back in the early 90s, I heard similar statement, but that by the turn of the century, India is going to become a major power and it will overtake China. So, but again, we're not talking about that. Just to keep this in perspective for you. So, of course, what he's saying is that we are trying to avoid and not harm civilians. Well, civilians will always be. I mean, look what the Israelis are saying in Gaza. Oh, we're not targeting civilians. No, there will always be the civilians as the collateral damage. That's always been the case. Always been the case. So now, there was one question that the article raised, or the analysis raised at the time, has to do with whether India hosted the white flag or not. Because here's what the Pakistani government is saying. And the Pakistani government is saying this on its official site account, X account, that Indian soldiers raised a white flag, a common symbol of a surrender. And this was at the line of control, which is the de facto border that divides India administered and Pakistan administered Kashmir. So it's up to you whether you're going to believe what they are saying is true. I'm not aware of any a white flag being raised or waved. I'm not aware of this. So the same arguments can be made about what type of plane the Indian fighter jets that were downed, so within the Indian territories. And all this leads us to wonder where this is headed. And again, my big concern, if things get out of control, will both countries resolve or resort to using nukes? Because each of them has in its doctrine, and I'm going to share it with you regarding how and when to deploy tactical nukes. So, and this is why the Pakistani government authorizes its army now to respond to India and does not rule out a nuclear war. Now, is this for domestic consumption? Most likely it is the case. Because, I mean, let's face it. And I did, of course, I read the statements by the Pakistani Prime Minister, what's his name? Shehbaz Sharif, which, by the way, was involved in a money laundering case with his son. They said he was acquitted of that, but that's anyway, that's his problem with that. So what he's saying is that the attack by the India is unjustified, cowardly, and illegal. End of quote. You know, his argument is that now Pakistan, reserves the right to respond because under international law, it has that right to do so. But where this is going to lead us, India is not going to tolerate that either. And it's going to be this tit for tat. And that's why I go back to my original statement. How about doing a referendum and allow people inside Kashmir to decide which entity they want to belong to? I think it's fair. If we are to say India is a democracy, then let's show it. And the same applies to Pakistan. Let's show it through actions. Of course, for us, we're not going to want that because we want to maintain chaos in the region for a reason. And that's why I'm saying my big concern, Pakistan is going to make the argument is that according to UN Charter, and it is true, it has the right to respond at a time and a place of its choosing in order to defend itself. Because that's what it's going to be. And that is why I am now wondering what what's his name? His name is Asim Munir. I need to, right here, Asim Munir. This is the head of the army. I'm wondering, what will he be thinking right now? What will he be doing? How will he proceed? I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. This is him giving a speech only 3 days ago, 3 or 4 days ago. So, and by the way, Asim Munir is of Indian descent, but he was born in Pakistan. His family, so makes you just wonder. And once again, this is where you're going to have to think in terms of how this is going to play out. I am being realistic here, for one reason and one reason only. When I compare the military strength and capabilities of India versus those of Pakistan. So let me share some pictures with you here that shows the numbers. And I have some articles where you can take a look in great detail as to how this is going to be. So let me share a screen and we'll go over it piece by piece, just to put it in perspective for you, and you can decide for yourself how this is gonna play out. Hold on a second, guys. All right, share screen, Pakistan and India. Okay, take a look here, guys, and I'm gonna go line by line to share it with you. So let's start with the military budget. They have India on the left, Pakistan on the right. India spends about $74 billion in its defense budget. Pakistan spends about 10. That means that's 8-to-1 ratio, 8% versus 1%. Manpower. Just look at the numbers here. 1.5 million almost versus 500,000 for Pakistan. The reserves. You have over 1 million for India, 500,000 for Pakistan. And those available for the military, you have about 319 million versus 48 for Pakistan. Then we get to the hardware, the tanks, for example. India has twice the amount of what Pakistan does. The fighting vehicles, armored one that is, India has about 8,000 plus. Pakistan has about 5,000 plus. Artillery, 4,000 plus for India, 4,000 plus for Pakistan. Actually, on this one here, Pakistan has a slightly more than India. Self-propelled artillery is the same. Pakistan has more. Pakistan has about 742 and India has 100. Air Force. Total aircraft. When I say aircraft, it's a reference to the aircraft for the military. 2,000 plus for India, 1,000 plus for Pakistan. Fighter jets. India has almost 100, Pakistan has 60. The multi-role fighter jets. India has 1,400, Pakistan has 300. And the attack fighter jets, India has over 115 or 115, and Pakistan has 60. Helicopters, a big difference. Navy, that's where one of the main advances for India. And again, the reason why I want to share this is because you need to see the capability and make sense out of it. Total naval assets, India 287 versus 104 Pakistan. Aircraft carrier, India has 2, Pakistan has none. Destroyers, India has 13, Pakistan has none. Frigates, India has 14, Pakistan has 9. And corvettes, India has 18, Pakistan has 9. And don't forget the submarines. India has 18, Pakistan has 8. Then comes the, and later on, I'm going to talk about the, once again, guys, you have to understand these differences because otherwise it's just not going to make sense. We have to realize where they are regarding the nuclear, regarding the military capabilities, but also have to think in terms of the nuclear aspects of it. Now, regarding the nuclear deterrence, and I'm going to share, I think I thought I had a picture of highlighting to you. Oh, yeah, I do, but let me pull it up for you guys, if I got it. No, I don't. So I'm going to share the screen so you'll see it. And this one provides an idea, and I'll provide you the link of all this later on, guys, just for you to see. So here's what we're looking at. We don't worry about other countries, but look at where Russia is, even versus the United States. We stand no chance with that. But again, I'll only take one or two. Look at India and Pakistan. India, and this is as of 2023. Now, this is unknown amounts that was announced at the time for this one here. But in any event, they are almost closer, India and Pakistan. And that's how it's all started. And there are now only 9 countries that have the possess nuclear weapons. Russia, United States, China, France, UK, Pakistan, India, Israel, and North Korea. And they are in this order because of the amount. So Pakistan, I believe Pakistan has about 5 or 10 extra over India. Will it make a difference? Maybe, maybe not. So that's remained to be seen. And once again, understanding these differences, because here is the thing: if the nuclear is deployed, which I hope it never gets to that, you're looking at over 100 million people being wiped out. Actually, more than 100 million people. So if just in that region, just in those two. I had a, once again, to understand all this, you do a lot of reading in understanding where this is going to be headed towards. You know, is the deployment of tactical nukes a foregone conclusion? And I am still leaning more towards it's unlikely. It's unlikely because both countries understand what the ramifications is going to be. Now, within all this leads us to a key question, and the key question is, which country, in your opinion, do you believe will step in to mediate between the two? Already one country is taking the initiative, and the country is Iran. But the more concerning is that China. I was thinking China is going to step in into mediating between the two because China will have a lot. It will impact China indirectly if the exchange take place. But so far, Iran is taking this initiative, and as a matter of fact, the representative of Iran government just won over to India for this particular reason. So here's what I'm going to share with you guys. I'm going to share with you a particular analysis that was done regarding this particular scenario, and I usually kept a record of all this. And this one about a hypothetical nuclear war. So, and this research paper was conducted in Washington, believe it or not. So, and for the purpose of just understanding what lies ahead, because here is the kicker to all this. The study was conducted in 2019 with the possibility of a conflict in 2025. That's what I found very interesting about all this. Even though it is theoretical in nature, however, the scenario is based on realistic dimensions or parameters that highlight some sort of the fragility of the nuclear deterrence between the two. And for that matter, it will be the whole region, Southeast Asian region. So let's just, for the sake of arguments, on the first day of this hypothetical nuclear exchange, so Pakistan uses about 10 or 15 tactical nukes or nuclear bombs. So each one of them with about, let's say, 4 to 5 kilotons, which is less than half the power of a Hiroshima bomb, by the way. And this one will be targeting the Indian armored concentrations inside Kashmir. So this is on day one. On day two, after 15 or 20 additional tactical strikes by Pakistan, India moves beyond now sort of the wait and see what the phase next one's going to be. Where are they going to move into? They're going to move into activating its nuclear doctrine. And if you know about India's nuclear doctrine, there is one particular word in there, in that doctrine, for those who had a chance to read it. It says, in quote, credible retaliation. Credible retaliation. Because to India now, this scenario, and we are talking only hypothetical here, this is now credible retaliation, which means India will have to activate or launch about 20 strategic nuclear strikes. Except that for India, it's going to be using a larger warheads to completely cripple Pakistan's military infrastructure. They're going big. Because what India is going to do in this hypothetical is scenario is that it's going to go for the city of Baharalpur. Why is this? It's because Baharalpur is the major home to Pakistani forces, as well as airport, as well as nuclear weapons depot. I have to challenge that notion. First of all, no one knows where the Pakistanis hold their nuclear weapons. We've been after them for years and years to figure that out. ISI keeping its mouth closed regarding this. They won't. So I don't know what makes India think, but on the other hand, the possibility is there. And herein lies the difference between the strategic and the tactical nuclear weapons. The former are used to deliver devastating strike, which will be targeting urban centers, or it could also target the strategic infrastructure. And what is the purpose and intent of it? The intent is to cause total paralysis. That's for the former. The latter are used to achieve localized military gains on the battlefield. For example, when you destroy battalions, when you destroy tanks, runways, and so forth. Then comes the third day. The spiral of escalation goes beyond control now. Pakistan responds by using 30 strategic nuclear missiles. 20 of which will be aimed at major Indian cities, and that includes New Delhi, while the remaining 10 will target naval bases. Why? Because India has major naval assets in comparison to Pakistan. So Pakistan will also target airports, urban cities. And by the way, in addition, the 15 new tactical nuclear warheads are launched against advanced Indian forces. And at the same time, with this tit for tat, India launches an air launch nuclear barrage against 10 vital Pakistani cities or sites. That includes the military, the naval, and air bases. And by the way, all of them within located urban population centers. And that becomes what we call, it's known in the military jargon, the escalation ladder. So the escalation cannot be stopped now. We beyond, because what you have now, you have people panicking, you have people frustrated, angry, chaos in both sides, on Pakistan and India. For India, of course, given the mass population it has, it will even be more than what it is now as far as its crumbling infrastructure, poverty, and so forth. So, and of course, over the next 3 days, and we're all talking about scenarios here, guys. I told you the first day, second day, and third day. And over 3 days after that, Pakistan will use all its remaining strategic arsenal. That will include about, give or take, 100 to 130 nuclear weapons for the sole purpose of destroying and leveling Indian cities. Of course, India is going to respond by using about 70 to 80. That's again just a hypothetical here. Nuclear weapon. But for India, using the 70, but maintain about 100, give or take, in its arsenal. Why? It's because he wanted to make sure to deter any potential attack by China. Yeah, this might shock you and surprise you, because that's what always India is thinking in its back. This is why you see in what India is doing vis-a-vis China. I've always argued, would it make more sense for India to reach out to China for assistance economically, for infrastructure, for this, for that? No, because India has a different idea. Should there be a conflict there, they're going to have to keep some that will target China. And once again, we're not even talking about human loss. And the human loss, that will be between about 65 to almost 130 million people that will die within the first week. We're not talking a month or whatever. Within the first week. No. And when you have, because, this is what I'm hoping. I hope we will never witness this, guys, in our lifetime. Yeah. You can see now why we're controlling which countries we don't want them to have nuclear weapons, but we do. So it's kind of double standard, if I may use the term. Because within this context, you have to think in terms of the destruction of the cities, the fire that's going to be caused by these detonations of so many nuclear warheads. Because you'll be looking at about, according to the study, between about 16 to 36 million tons of black carbon into the atmosphere. And of course, once that happens, it will rise to the stratosphere. And you all know what it means. That means blocking the sunlight and leading to significant drop in global temperature. So, and once again, I'm just sharing with you because you need to understand. Who wants to talk about this negative stuff, whatever? But it's reality, is the truth. This is the problem with us human beings. We tend to have this notion of, and I intend, by the way, on our community discussion at the end of the month, I'm going to address this particular point, how us humans, we don't want to face the truth. Some of us, we do not. We'll avoid it by any means because truth hurts, because truth awakens some sort of your inner voice, makes you realize and start questioning yourself. Who am I? What am I doing here? Where do I stand on issues? How do I proceed? Am I playing games with myself? That is the reason why we don't want to hear the truth. And the same things apply to this idea of a nuclear scenario. As a matter of fact, Pakistan, they just tested a specific type of missile. Of course, India's not going to hold back either. I am hoping some cool heads will prevail. And that's why I go back to my argument. Give the voice to the people inside Kashmir and let them decide. And everybody should abide by the result of that referendum. India likes it or not. No, they will have to. And Pakistan the same. I don't think so China will oppose to that. Because China has already a Muslim population within its own borders. They live in peace. There is no issues there. I forgot to show you a picture here. This is from women from Kashmir back then. So, and that is the harsh reality that we need to understand. I hope it never gets to this. But again, it takes us back to the fundamental question. Who was really behind this and why? Because everything was fine till J.D. Vance visited India. I'm not saying it was, all I'm saying is how odd and coincidence. Will Modi go for something like a false flag? Yes, he could. To this extent, maybe not. And again, I mean, for me, just the moment he got the order to stop water flowing to Pakistan based on the treaty, that tells me the guy is not thinking straight. You depriving an entire nation of access to water, doesn't matter, small village or a town or whatever. It's the same thing that Israel is doing in Gaza, preventing food and water and aid from getting in. I mean, it's inhumane. And if Pakistan is going to have patience, till when? But also Pakistan is as corrupted inside the government. You have to understand the history of Pakistan also. Very complicated society. I mean, you have to go all the way back to the era of Zia al-Haq, and of course, Bhutto that came after him and so forth. And there is a lot. It's not an easy society to understand. There's the tribal and the ISI, their inner service intelligence, ones that controls the aspects of what's going on with the decisions on the country. I mean, like I always say, look what they did to Imran Khan. Which, by the way, I'm going to reach out to someone who knows a great deal about this, and I might ask him to come on the show here. So, anyway, guys, that's all I have to share with you. I just wanted to provide you some insights, some understanding before you start seeing the narrative sort of being spin off as to. And again, we are not here to blame India or Pakistan. No, we provide the facts. You guys are smart enough. You can reach your own decisions. It's just once you hear the information, you have at least some sort of a background that I hope I provided you with, and it can help you out. So let me first say thank you to Pandemonium. Thank you so much for your support for the channel. I'm very, very grateful. Speaking of that, guys, for those who wants to support my upcoming Asia trip, you all know the analysis you are hearing here, it's unique to this channel. So, and again, this upcoming Asia trip is for some specific reason. I usually won't discuss this at this time. In due time, I will, because there are certain information you guys need to know. And media is intentionally, especially here in the West, refraining from wanting you to know this particular information, which is by design. So to those who wants to support the channel, here is the link here, and I'm very, very grateful to you for all this. Guys, I hope you enjoyed, you learned something, and I look forward to seeing you next time. As always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Until next time, bye-bye.